So if you're going to machine frames, that's fine. But you need to make sure that you remove all of the metal filings from when you machine them. I mean, that's just me, but you know, yeah. So I unsoldered that decoder and pulled out the board, and of course there's more filings underneath. Like, the shit gets everywhere, and all it takes is that to short across a path here, and you've created even more problems, or to get down in the gear towers and bind something up. But I mean, that's just fucking half-ass slop work right there. I'm not sure how well it's going to show here, but I just pulled the rear worm gear cover off. Look at all that shit. Like, let's grab a toothpick here. You can see where they machined it. I don't know, did they not dismantle this whole thing? You should have stripped down this entire frame and machined it, and then used some compressed air and blown all this crap off. But so, like, now I'm going to probably have to tear these trucks apart also, just to make sure there's none down in there. Obviously, I'm not entirely sure why they thought it was a good idea to put a new LED on the front of, this is one of the New York Central E7s, which have a flush-fitting surface mount LED that they replaced with this. But the light bar in the back of there, it's over here, is further back, so that's not going to line up with anything. So who the hell knows on this one? Yeah. These guys are their own special brand of fail. We'll get to them soon enough. So I just lifted the motor out, and you can see, like, down in the flywheel cavity, all that stuff's down in there. Same thing with this front one. Like, is it really that hard to take apart a Kato E unit down to the bare frame? Not really. I can do it with a set of tweezers or a flat blade screwdriver in about 10 seconds. So why you wouldn't dismantle it before cutting this? And it looked like, I mean, they machined it, I'm guessing from the cuts. It's almost like they used a router or something on there, because the way that is, I mean, whatever works. And had they cleaned this up, but now because of all these filings everywhere, I'll have to dismantle this whole thing and dismantle everything, and probably pull the motor out of its cradle and just check to make sure there's no metal filings around here. So somebody made more work for themselves. All right, continuing on with this E7. This is one I just machined. This is I had a few E-unit frames. So the E5 CB&Q E5s, the E8/9, every one that Kato's ever made, and then the New York Central E7s all have the same frame. So you can still see this guy, he's got a bunch of swarf in there. And that cut, probably cut a little too much off of there. But so anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm actually going to make this guy just a hair deeper, clean him up, and then obviously we'll blow all that stuff off, and then I'm going to machine a bunch of frames over there. And the process to get from, you know, this to this is fairly straightforward. Basically, you know, you take your frame over here. What I'll do is I'll cut a slug of it off on a bandsaw that has a metal blade on it. So you get your basic cut right there. And we'll bring it over here. We will chuck it in the mill, and we will clean that up a little bit. A little manual action right there. And then we will come over here, use a file, and we'll clean off all the jagged edges on it. And then before I take these back inside, I'm not going to show it here, but I have a compressor over there. We will just blow all those chips off in there so they do not end up like this guy. I can still see a bunch of them in there. Anywho, time to get these guys done. So, got a pile of frames that already have the slug cut up. I'm not gonna lie, this is actually kind of therapeutic, just sitting here clamping and machining these. These all get deburred and yada yada yada. But yeah, the pile grows larger. And another batch of unit frames, all machined, cleaned up, deburred, blown off, you know, with one of these guys. Ended up cleaning up this guy as best I could. recut him so he's deeper. I didn't need that section in there done, so that's extra material in there, but yeah. And then blew all the other random chunks of debris or swarf off of him. So, on to the next step. Alright, so continuing with the E7, what I have here is I've remachined this frame. So it'll take a 11x17 speaker with a 3D printed housing that I normally use. Normally there wouldn't be that cut in there, but was already hogged out, so it goes like that. Going back to this light board, which I briefly noticed, they had added a LED, cut some traces on here, and I mean that's all removable. I'm not worried about that. But this is why that large LED isn't going to work. Here's an inside of an E7 shell, and here's an E7 light board. This surface mount LED was removed, and so of course nothing's going to line up now. Why they did this is beyond me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove this and put a new surface mount LED on here, because I do not have any spare E7 light boards except for this one, but that's my sample, so we're not taking that apart. And then I've got V5 micro. I'll go ahead and I'll reprogram him, and I'll probably have to extend a couple of these leads because they were cut a little short, and I'll patch up that light board and get this soldered in. So we'll be back in a few. All right, and there we go. So basically that LED was replaced with a surface mount LED. Jumpered a couple wires here. Trim the leads on here so this fit better. Had to do a little splicing here, but not too much. Modified this light board so it's more in standard with what I do. And throwing it on the test rack, it works just fine. So I'm willing to bet that a shell now snaps on with no problem, and that forward headlight will actually work like it's supposed to. Alright, so if you've been playing the home game and watching the last few videos, or segments of videos that I've chopped together here, this is a New York Central E7 that came into me that somebody had done an interesting job installing sound, and it looks like they tried to copy my work and did an interesting job of it. But anyway, so he's all cleaned up. The frame was remachined. All the swarf and other metal filings were removed. The LEDs, or the front LED, was replaced the way it should be done, so things line up, and so on and so forth. So at that point, I'm just going to show that actually headlight does work. It's got sound file SO761 loaded on it. All right, there we go. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.